Hello everyone, Manithral here, and welcome to the weekly update video for OSRS. Now this week we actually have quite a bit, even apart from the OSRS. Today marks the launch of Steam. Well, not launch of Steam, but launch of RuneScape on Steam, so we should be expecting to see potentially more people playing the game as time goes on, or if not, even pretty early on. But up first, for the OSRS updates, we have the Volcanic Mine. So the point cap of the Volcanic Mine has been raised from 65,535 to 2,997,151. So it says now you'll be able to mine for much longer without having to run to the store to get rid of your extra points. So that is actually quite a substantial increase. In addition, the interface of Volcanic Mine waiting room will now count down to the start of the game, so you'll know exactly when you'll be able to start playing. Ava's devices, such as the Ava's Attractor, Accumulator, and Assembler, will no longer be lost during PvM death. They will, however, be lost on PvP death, so keep that in mind. So, Revenant Cave proposals and other ideas. Speaking of PvP, Vesta's Longsword, so they received a lot of feedback regarding Vesta's Longsword, and they're still discussing the next steps. They won't make any major changes without first consulting us, the players, and they're actively working on the best approach right now. Once they've aligned as a team, they'll restart the conversation with us. Blighted items, they didn't receive much feedback for the blighted item proposal, so they say, which is understandable considering the scale of their plans for the Revenant Cave and the Vesta's Longsword, but they would still love feedback for it. So the proposal, they're saying again, is that they would like to make them usable on PvP worlds, so they're still ironing out the details, and this is why they're not getting any real feedback for it, because there's no real detail. So the first stage of the blighted items would make them available only in designated PvP hotspots, the same places where the looting bag works. If that works out, they'd like to release them in the rest of the PvP worlds. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Revenant Caves, there was general support for the Revenant Cave plants. So, the TLDR is they spread the Revenant spawns more thinly throughout the caves, reduce the value of their drops, and replace multi-way combat with a new system, new mechanic that they dubbed the phrase of single plus, which is single-way combat, but PvP overrides it as a priority over PvM. So if you're in the middle of a PvM battle, a PvPer can come up, attack you, and then you would no longer be engaged with combat with the PvM, you'd be engaged with combat with the PvPer. So that is actually something to keep in mind. They plan to keep a close eye on the situation of the caves, but if we like the sound of the ideas below, they're open to making content changes ahead of time to preempt these issues. First up is the player's suggestion to disincentivize potential griefers. So entrance to the caves would require payment in the form of coins, which could be payable from the bank. The payment could cover one or multiple trips, or until you die within the caves in the PvP scenario. A PKer would receive this fee when looting a killed player's items, which would mean that there's a minimum risk required to enter the caves, and players with little gear and bad intentions could be killed for their fee. The idea is that the upfront cost would deter anybody seeking to behave maliciously beyond killing revenants or killing other players. But see, the thing of it is, they could just see as long as they kill at least one person, they made their money back for the fee. So I don't think that's entirely a good one personally. Next is the PJ timer. So they've asked multiple times to trial PG timer mechanics and exist elsewhere in the game in single-way areas of wilderness. So they're proposing applying some of the same PvP world PJ mechanic to revenant caves, as the caves will be made single way and technically single plus, but this means we'd be preventing attacks against players who have attacked another player in the last 10 seconds. Put simply, you can be attacked by another player in the revenant caves even if you're in combat with an NPC, which is something we discussed. Now, I personally think that if you were just attacked and you actually beat your attacker, so if you're in there for a PVM, or if you're just in PvP in general, it should be that if you were just attacked, you have immunity for a little bit. Not if you just attacked and killed someone, you get immunity. No. If you're going in there for PvP, you go in there for PvP. That's how it should be. I'm sorry, but that's how it should be. In other news, though, the PvP World Rota has moved to Period A on the east of the Atlantic. The host of the high-risk PvP World will be World 343, Germany. On the west of the Atlantic, the host for the standard PvP World will be World 324, USA. And for the free-to-play PvP World 417, USA. The fishing skill guides have been expanded and reorganized to better show the equipment and levels players will need to catch fish. Lobster Pot has been renamed to Lobster Cage. The Lunar Teleport tablets now have the same Grand Exchange buy limit as their teletabs, 10,000. Iron players can now pick up the net in the Ogre's Shaman Cave. The Wilderness Crab's Teleport tablet has also been updated to give the same warnings as other teletabs. The win counter at the last man standing now goes up to 32,767. And there's a slight update yet also. They said they've seen a lot of feedback on the Lobster Pot change. So they'd like to be, they thought it'd be a very minor change that might help avoid any confusion among new players when fishing at lobster spots. That said, a lot of you are quite rightly pointing out that things like trees say chop down tree, and axes aren't called tree choppers. Maybe relying on intuition can be a good thing, and they got it wrong. They'll be reverting the change next week, so for those who don't like that, don't worry, it will be changed here shortly. But that'll be it for today's video, so thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, later guys.